biggest challenge I faced with my venture was not when we launched, because everything seemed to go really well, but was later on when we found ourselves in difficulties. So we launched mYngle as a marketplace, something I knew very well from my previous eBay experience. And we thought we had it all. We got funding even before launch, and I had a very motivated team. We got PR, we won a lot of awards. So what could possibly go wrong? And what I noticed is everybody loved the concept, but no one was buying. And we were spending a lot of money, and it was not giving the right results. So that's when I thought, okay, there is something wrong now in my company, and I decided to take a step back and see what is going on. And that's the moment, actually the critical moment, that determined the difference between probably failure and success. The moment you recognize that something is not going right, you take a break, you step back, and you are willing to judge your company, your people, your activities again. What we did, we went back to the drawing board completely. I remember I call on my team, I say, stop whatever you are doing. We're going to spend 2 weeks interviewing people. And we start interviewing people from teachers, students, people from similar industries. We went to the gym, we interview trainers, we interview people from the diet industry. We make a lot of interviews to understand people of a similar product, where the result, you're buying the result, and the result is what you want, and not the process, where the process is actually something painful or tiring. And what we came out is, no matter what you asked, the answer was always the same. That is, if I was sure of the results, I have no problem to put money in it. And that's the same for diet and sport and learning. If you're sure to achieve what you want to achieve, you will definitely put the time and money. But the people say, how can I be sure that with mYngle Teacher, being a marketplace like eBay, I can achieve the results? A teacher, let's say a funny teacher, a nice teacher that I like, is not necessarily a teacher that can teach. So mYngle has to assume responsibility for the quality of the lesson that it delivers. I, as a student, I cannot take that decision. And so that is when we decide to change a lot and take responsibility, like it was asked, and went back to being from an open platform to a school where we selected, train, remove teacher, and we guided them on the content, we did decide on the content, and we became much more a closed system. So the first one is you have to be able to change. It's very difficult because I love my initial idea. I thought I come from eBay, I wanted to have eBay for languages. And so the biggest lesson is it's never as you expect. The plan you make in the beginning, it's almost never going to happen the same way you plan it. That's logical because I came for corporate, and in corporate you make the planning, you have past, and you project the past to the future. And that mostly works. But in a startup, you don't have a past. And so everything you project is based on your own hypothesis. So they could be right or they could be wrong. And so the biggest learning is the plan is never linear. It's never how you expect it to be. You have to be able to change. You have to be able to adapt and shift. And really, really fast, you have to go and pivot and change and transform the company when it's needed. And I believe that's what often goes wrong. So you have to just let go of the initial idea whenever it's needed. Be humble to recognize maybe my idea was not the right one. And be humble also to throw it all out and start all over again if it's needed. So that I would say it's the biggest lesson, and wouldn't be here if I didn't apply that lesson on myself. So the strategy I put in place to control the cash flow were serious, and actually I can say that is where INSEAD helped me a lot, because I didn't come from finance at all. But I started saying, okay, you can improve by either increasing revenues or reducing the cost. Now, revenues is always a wishful thinking. You cannot really control it, but cost you can. And so I went in every single voice of cost. I just wrote it down, the whole P&L, and I started saying, what can we cut? What can we reduce? What can we outsource? And every single voice. And I realized there is a lot you can cut. You tend to form a lot of fat in a company. Even a company of 2-3 years, then you have a lot of these extra that are not needed. A lot of things can be done offshore. We move customer support completely offshore. We move programming completely offshore, simply for cost reason. And some things, can be reduced, a lot of marketing spending. There was a lot of nice to have that didn't need to be there. So we really went step by step, very systematic. And then once you put in place the cost, then you have a little bit time to breathe and think, okay, what can we do now to improve the revenues? So very, very systematically, but it worked. The investor gave me a deadline to say, if you reduce by 50% within 1 year, we will support you financially until you reach the point of break even. And actually we're, I think, minus 55% cost within 1 year. So we actually made really, really drastic change.